Hey, this is Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia Murder here, and you're listening to the Everblack podcast.
Hey, humans, Carl, this is Odorous from Guam.
Going to battle Fear Factory.
This is George Cole from Under Fisher.
This is Jazz from Double Drop.
This is Wade from Our Last Enemy.
Mike Nick from Suicidal Tendencies.
Hey, this is Wednesday 13.
This is Bruce Evans.
Rex from Kill Devil Hill.
This is Gary Bree
from Sepultura. You're listening to Everblack Podcast.
All right, before we go into this episode, we just need to give a shout out to our show supporters, the brutal occult clothing brand Electric Witch, who have amazing apparel from shirts to hoodies to hats to beanies and more. Check out their full range at electricwitch.com.au and put in the code EverBlack for 20% off your order. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Everblack podcast through Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Facebook, and check out all our articles at everblackmedia.com. All right, on with the show. Of course, I mean, the new Heathen album, Empire of the Blind, is out on September 18. It has been about 11 years, which is crazy, but definitely worth the wait. What made it now the right time to get into making this new album and unleashing it into the world?
Well, we actually started demoing songs for the record in 2012. So we're starting to think about it, many years ago. That would have been just a couple of years after The Evolution of Chaos was released. So that originally the plan was to have this record out much sooner. But then I got kind of pulled into the Exodus vortex and was playing live with them for about 6 years. So and a lot of heavy touring. So there just wasn't a lot of time in between tours and stuff to finish working on the record until I was more or less done with my Exodus commitments. So last year I only had 2 shows with them that were what we call one-offs, where we just fly there and play and go home. And so I was able to really kind of dig in to finishing the writing and recording and everything. So unfortunate delay, but life kind of takes its turns and we just kind of go along for the ride sometimes.
But I mean, it's exciting that, fans have had that little time to wait, but, now everyone's going crazy for it because I'm really impressed with this album. Like, it's really, really solid songwriting. So how long from, obviously demoing them from back then to now, how much did they change? Have they gone back and forth?
Well, there were, so out of the demos that I did, I think by 2014, I had 6 songs done. 5 of them had vocals. The one that didn't have vocals, we didn't even record for the record. So that still exists, but it's like unfinished. The out of the other 5, I would say 4 of them are almost identical to what ended up on the record. The 5th one, we weren't happy with it, and I basically went back in and sort of tore it apart and then added some other stuff to it and changed the vocals and lyrics, and that became the title track. So in that respect, I'm glad that I had the extra time to work on it because it's far better and far more epic sounding than it was, when I first demoed that song.
And it was produced by the legendary Zeus as well.
Yes.
Man, that dude's done some awesome stuff. And how was it working with him?
It was great. I mean, I met up with him, I think it was somewhere towards the end of 2018. I was in town visiting my parents in Los Angeles area, and he happened to be there working on a project. And so we just met up for dinner and talked about the record. And then, we just kept in touch, and I would be sending him demos along the way. And I mean, it was fantastic working with him because he's always got some kind of constructive criticism. He won't just say, "Is that good?" He'll tell you why, and here's what we should do, or anything like that. It's same time, he's also really good at sort of understanding what your vision is and getting you there. So, for the production, sort of the sound of the album, we really wanted to kind of capture a hybrid between the classic late 80s, early 90s albums that we all sort of either grew up making or listening to, and then and modern stuff, where, we're in an era where, you can't really go back and just record on tape. I mean, you could, but it's even some of those tape machines, they don't, a lot of them are broken and they don't make them anymore. I mean, so it's one of those things where we tried to capture a hybrid between analog and digital. And so that's exactly what we did. We used a lot of analog equipment in with the sort of digital recording technology. So I mean, it really came out great, and he was great to work with. He and I have become friends through the process of this, and we've worked on a couple other albums for bands that I managed. So it was really great, and I can't say enough good things about him and his work.
I'd love to work with him. And
yeah,
this album, you are right. It's got the perfect blend between old and new. Like, it doesn't sound dated at all. Like, it sounds modern, but it's still got those classic thrash elements that everyone's like loving. Like, thrashers really seem to. It didn't go away, but it seemed to have a real big resurgence over the last, I'd say, 10 years.
Yeah, I think. I mean, right around the time when Evolution of Chaos came out. Thrash had sort of seen this resurgence in like the mid 2000s somewhere.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of younger bands doing it, and newer bands. And it's kind of continued on. I mean, there are a lot of, newer bands or bands even from like the mid 2000s, like Warbringer, that are still doing it and releasing new stuff. And, it's great to see that. I wish more of those bands would throw out the rule book that they've created.
Yeah.
Back when thrash metal came out the first time, and we were all growing up listening to it, or those guys were creating it, and there were no rules. You just wrote what you wrote. You wrote stuff to sound, that sounded good to you, and it didn't matter, what kind of song it was or what tuning it was in, and none of that stuff mattered. And nowadays it seems like, there are complaints like, if the album's not in E, or, if you have a song that's too slow, or, and it's like, okay, well, go back and listen to The Thing That Should Not Be in 1986 on Master of Puppets. That song was in C when nobody had done that yet. And it was awesome. And nobody complained that they had a song that wasn't in E. It's just like those rules and that stuff, that everybody's got to throw that away. Thrash metal is about breaking the rules, not about creating rules and following them.
Or how many bullets are on your bullet belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. See? Yeah. More of that later. But of course, I mean, there's some amazing tracks on these, like The Blight and Sun in My Hand. I really love that one too. Which ones are you hanging to smash out live? When all this is over, of course, I mean, you hit the road. Which one are you looking forward to smashing out with the old material?
I don't know. I mean, I imagine playing The Blight live. I imagine playing Empire of the Blind live. I imagine playing Sun in My Hand. I'd love to play In Black. I mean, I could probably picture playing any of them. The hard thing to know is what songs are fans going to want to hear live, because we could make we could make a set list of what we want to play, but it might not be what they want to hear, so we have to kind of see what we're in a weird position, because usually we'd be out touring already, promoting the record and stuff. The album was supposed to come out like 3 months ago. So, it'll be interesting. We'll have more time to see what fans like and plan our set around that.
I think that kind of works as well. I mean, it's a bummer that it did get, pushed back like a lot of things, but I think on the flip side of that, it's going to give people a little bit more time, like you said, and they're going to get to know the songs. They're going to learn all the lyrics, and you're going to get more of a feel of what they're vibing off. But I think they're going to the majority of this album. Mostly everyone's going to really love, and it's going to be a hard pick for you guys. You might have to do the album start to finish. Do one of those ones.
I guess that's that'd be a challenge. I guess that's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another one's the instrumental, Fine Red Mist, which is like a mega jam shred off with some special guests. Tell us about that one.
I had this idea. That was one of the last songs that came together for the record. And I had recorded a voice memo on my phone with a riff on it. And I was just messing around with it. And I was like, yeah, I think I could make something out of this. And I just sort of played around with it. And it was one of those things where it just came together really quickly. The core of the song it did anyway.
Yeah.
And my idea for it was to do what I kind of think of as like a classic instrumental, where it's not necessarily just about the shredding. It's more like there's a guitar part that takes the place of the vocals, and it's still a song. So that's what more or less how that started. And then I just was thinking, how cool would it be to have like a solo section where I just gotta like have all these guys come in and do what I call the Bay Area shred off. And so, I'm on the Exodus management team, and of course I know the guys. So I was able to, get in touch with Gary Holt and Rick Hunolt from the original Exodus H team and ask them if they would both play. And I got in touch with Doug Piercy, who was the guitar player that was on the first two Heathen records with Lee, and asked him, and they all said yes. And I sort of designed this trade-off guitar solo section for them, where we could hear the guys from the original Exodus and the guys from the original Heathen sort of do this long trade-off solos section, and then it like drops off a cliff, and then I just kind of took the song goes a little bit in a different direction from that point, but it's a really cool, fun song. It's got this epic feel to it at the same time, and it's still a song instead of just shredding. It's got the fun shredding section, of course, but it's a highlight on the record for me because as a fan growing up, teenage me would never have imagined that I would write a song and have all those guys play on it.
Man, it's so good. Please tell me you filmed it. There's got to be some footage.
Unfortunately, the budget for this album didn't allow for us to fly everybody out to the same studio. Yeah. So Gary and Rick tracked their stuff at the studio where we recorded the last Heathen record, actually. And they weren't even together in the room because Gary had he was out on tour with Slayer when Rick was doing his solo, and then it didn't work out. My ultimate idea was to get everybody in the same room, at least just for a photo op, but it didn't happen.
Okay, so one thing I was going to say before is that I did notice that some bands are doing these videos where they'll be all over the place, like we're doing right now.
Yep.
But they'll cover songs or something like that. What if you did that?
That's something I would love to do that. Most of those videos, those guys are not playing live. They're pre-recorded parts and then they edit it together. So, there's this mystery thing where everybody thinks that they got together and they jammed when they basically record it and then they video themselves playing along with the recording. So, which is cool. It's still cool. I would love to do some kind of playthrough video for a Fine Red Mist, and at least just have all the other guys play video themselves playing their guitar solos and edit together. I've had an idea to do that. It would probably be me playing all the rest of it because in the studio I played everything else. But it would still be fun. It would be really cool as a video. I'm going to try and get them to do it. We'll see. The Exodus guys are about to start recording a record.
Oh,
their new
really?
record. So
Wow.
They'll probably be busy for a little bit, but I would love to do it in the future.
Yeah,
for
that'd
sure.
be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. And the cover art is cool too. I can't wait to get a shirt. I'm going to pre-order one of those shirts. But a lot of bands are doing the jigsaw puzzles at the moment. Is that on the cards? You notice that?
Yeah, you know what? I was just thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about if we did a 1,000-piece puzzle of that new album cover, how hard it would be to put together. 'Cause it's all
That's
red.
exactly what I thought.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's actually really cool that bands are starting to think outside the box, so to speak, with other ideas for merchandise. You know, they can't go out and tour, which is for most bands sort of the primary source of income. So, you know, to come up with these new ideas for band products, I mean, you know, I would never have thought there would be an AC/DC puzzle or something when I was growing up listening to music, you know what I mean? But now it's like lots of bands are doing them. I saw Meshuggah has them and King Diamond, and so yeah, I would love to do one. Actually, I've already talked to our merchandiser about it. It's just a matter of like, how many do we have to make? Like, what's the minimum that we can make? Sometimes that's a lot.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's a good idea though, for sure.
I agree. It's and then you can frame it and put it on the wall and stuff, and you got it on your shirt and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
It's great artwork. Travis Smith does awesome artwork. So
I can't wait, man. So good. And of course, another thing I've been noticing is a lot of bands are doing the Spotify playlist, which I think is great. And it's a good way to interact with people and fans, and also share what you're digging at the moment too. But it's kind of like tape sharing in a way, isn't it? A modernized tape sharing.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, you know, back in the day when we did all the tape trading and stuff, and I saw this a little bit in that Murder in the Front Row documentary when they were talking about it. We didn't copy tapes of albums to like keep them. That was like to hear them, and then we wanted to buy them. So tape trading that we did for keeping things was like demos or bootleg live. You know, if somebody recorded their live shows, or like I got tape traded copies of the Metallica demos. When they were being circulated and stuff like that. So those were things that we wanted to keep, because you couldn't buy it unless you were there. Whereas the albums we could go buy. The difference I think with now is, you're able to share a mixtape, so to speak, with people of like stuff that you like to listen to. And there's no time limit really. I mean, the last playlist I made for Spotify was like 2 hours or something, so it's cool in that respect. It's a double-edged sword though, because as a musician, I mean, in light of all the recent sort of Spotify stuff, I mean, you see how much bands get paid. It's the labels and Spotify and all the streaming services, they all do fine with it. It's the bands that kind of get screwed in the process. Now I have a Spotify account that I pay for. But if I added up how much I pay for Spotify versus how much I make from Spotify, I wonder if I would be in the hole. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just, I mean, it's unfortunately, for whether we like it or not, that's the future. Now that people are able to stream music and they don't pay for it, or they do pay for it, whether they want to sit through ads or not. That's how they want to do it. That's how consumers are used to doing it. So it's never going to go back to the way it was. We've got to find ways to sort of adapt. And I'm still frustrated that so much music is not on the streaming services. I would go and look for something to put on a playlist and say, how is this not on Spotify? It's crazy.
I mean, some albums that I was looking for. There was a Porcupine Tree album that I was looking for ages that I'd lost the physical copy of. I can't remember which one. I think it was Fear of a Blank Planet. I think it was that one, and it's just not there. Just not even on, which is weird. That was like
that means that means that somebody owns the rights to it and hasn't put it up yet. Or I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there's a Violence album I was looking for the other day that's not on Spotify, and I'm like, how is this possible? They only had 2. So
and that's a good thing about having physical copies as backups. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm a CD guy. I still buy CDs. So to me, that's still, even if I rip them onto my computer or put them in my library or whatever, I still like to have the physical thing, because I like to look at the liner notes and, read the lyrics and see what the artwork looks like. And to me, that's also the best way to support the band, is to buy some type of physical product. I mean, whether it's a t-shirt or CD or vinyl or whatever the bands are selling. I mean, I try and support either directly or, if they don't have their own store, wherever they, their music's being sold, I try to buy the physical product still. But I'm an old school guy, so.
Me too. I mean, and a cassette, it's coming out on cassette too.
Yeah, very limited, but CD, vinyl, cassette. I think there are like 5 different vinyl configurations. There's a Nuclear Blast t-shirt which has sort of a 2-color version of the album cover, and then our Heathen store has a completely different t-shirt and bundles with CDs and cassettes and vinyl.
Take all my money. I'll just I'll just send it through here.
Well,
but,
make sure you leave enough for yourself to live on. We'll take the rest.
See, it's funny. Like Nuclear Blast are pretty good like that, actually. Like as a label, like I think they're the best in the world. The way they push their bands, the product. Like, man, they're a really good label.
They know their the genre. They know what fans want. They have a pretty good variety of bands on the label. I mean, from what's basically started as a death metal label back in the day, they've got a lot of stuff, and they're great to work with. Honestly, we've had a great time working with them on the record. I've known a lot of the people that work there, for many years. So they care about this music. They want it to be great. They want to get it out to everybody and have the bands on their label be successful. And it's not just the financial success. It's just they want the music to see the light of day and get out to the people that need to hear it.
Absolutely. 100%. And of course, the other band, Prototype, I love as well. So what's going on with that? What's happening, man?
Not much. We haven't released anything since our 3rd album, Catalyst, came out in 2012. We've done some sort of digital releases of demo collections and stuff since then, but we've got a few songs written, but haven't been able to work on them yet. I had to put a lot of stuff on the back burner to finish the Heathen record, so we'll see. As COVID continues, maybe more music will surface. We'll see.
Hope so, man. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging with you, and I hope we can see you down under once this is all over and back to normal. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you?
I'm on the Gold Coast in Australia, which is Queensland.
Okay. Yeah, I was fortunate to get to Australia with Exodus in 2015 when we did Soundwave and a couple shows otherwise, and it was great. We got to go to the beach on the Gold Coast. We hijacked one of the Soundwave vans and took it out there. So yeah, it was great. So we can't wait to bring Heathen over there. I mean, I had a great time when I was down under before. So
beers and barbecues and all the fun stuff. We're definitely going to see you when this is all over. And I wish you and the boys all the best. New Heathen out. Blah, blah, blah. This is all happening today, isn't it? Let me start that again. The new Heathen album, Empire of the Blind, is out on September 18 through Nuclear Blast. I'll have the links here, as I usually say. All the best, bro, and take care. Stay safe.
Hey, thank you. You too. All the best to you.
Thanks, bro. Bye.
All right. Cheers, man.
Bye, man.